Anybody ever thought about how crazy it is that Venus's story in astrology is that she is born of Uranus's man, right, getting chopped off and thrown into the ocean, making her essentially the final child of Uranus. And I've been working on some self-worth stuff recently, and I was thinking about this story today because Venus has a lot to do with self-worth and like what you are worth in the world and like being okay with standing in that worth and protecting it and honoring it and all the things, right? She's also a sister to Saturn because both their parents are Uranus, so I call her the cutthroat sister, and Saturn would be like the father, very militant, sort of brotherly energy. Anyways, very hardcore family, right? You can't get much more hardcore than that. It's just what it is. Actually, you probably could if you look at the other myths. But anyways, moving on, okay? I thought it was really interesting. I was like, literally, her dad's job, Venus's dad, Uranus, her dad's job, the final child he had, was all about worth. It's about some other stuff too, but like that's a core essence of Venus, right? Love you, Venus. Love you, love you, love you, Venus. So grateful for you. And the love. Also true. Also true. And I was looking at my relationship with my father and the worth that I was imbued with in that relationship. And I had to take a step back for a second. I was like, oh, interesting. The worth, if you're working with Venus, does have a lot to do with the father that fathered you. Crazy. Stick with me, okay, because there's a little bit more. So then I was thinking about it and I was like, if Venus and working with Venus energy decides that she's worth more, she then basically has to go and like prove her father wrong. And then it got me laughing too, because I was like, Venus's sibling Saturn is who we consider to be the father in astrology, right? We are usually talking about Saturn as being like the dad, and like that's where the lessons come from, when Uranus is the parent of both Saturn and Venus. And it got me laughing because kids usually inherit qualities from their parents, right? So Saturn inherited the father figure sort of energy. There's more to it than that, but in a basic for this story essence. And Venus inherited the worth. Crazy. This is so crazy. Also, wouldn't Venus technically have two dads because Uranus's man got chopped off and thrown in the ocean? And what about Neptune? You know what I mean? So does Venus have two dads? Anyways, moving on. Shout out if that's true. But yeah, I was just thinking about like the worth. Like, what are you worth and how are you willing to stand in it? Like, a lot of those examples come from men. Oh, whoa, hold on, okay? The example comes from men. The support might come from society. Okay, Saturn does partially rule over Aquarius. And when Saturn and Uranus are together, they're Aquarius. So, crazy. Plus, we have Pluto in Aquarius right now. Does that mean that we're undoing contracts indirectly of worth? I think that's true. That's pretty crazy because Pluto is retrograding right now. So when Pluto goes direct, there's going to be, especially if you have a Venus that is Saturn ruled and or Venus is with Saturn in your chart, crazy. Whoa. Particularly if you had a Venus in Aquarius or a Venus in the 11th house, you are definitely going to be, or Venus in the 8th house, also true. You're definitely going to be working on a lot of self-worth when it comes to societal relationships while Pluto's in Aquarius and the contracts thereof that keep your worth bound up, whether you like it or not, whether you like your worth or not necessarily if you like the work or not. Granted, Pluto and Saturn together make us work. Anyways, okay, let me get back on track. But Venus and the self-worth, like working with worth and understanding worth, because Venus is Taurus, it's the second house, it's the money, right? It's our resources. And then Venus with Libra, it's about commerce and justice, balancing the scales, making sure that those transactions are going to be just. We also equate it to our more intimate relationships and how they could start. So there's that too. Weighing the pros and the cons of the people that you might want to be with. That's the thing. True. Yeah. But getting back to the Venus and the foundations, because think about like Venus is like, everybody's got to grow up a little bit, right? So like Venus in the growing of up essentially comes from the worth of what man has given to her. And then Venus, being her own being, gets to turn and make decisions about, no, actually, I'm worth something different. So if your starting point, story in short, right? If your starting point of worth is a man, sometimes you got to turn in a different direction. No wonder Venus is so cutthroat. Oh my gosh. When you put it like that, because I hadn't really thought about it like that in a full totality before I opened my mouth to speak those words, but you know what? Yeah. And you know what? I think that that's applicable for men who are working on self-worth too, to be honest. I think that's like regardless of gender. Didn't we just say that it's kind of ironic that Venus got born out of the ocean? Right? Okay. Interesting. So regardless of like who you are, it's the men It's the men around you in society who would determine your like standard of worth. And then if you want to tap into being worth more, you have to tap into Venus. And then also Saturn. Saturn is like, go get the work done and earn that position. And Venus is like, this is what the position is. And that's what you are worth. So they go together. Siblings, you know, they do that. Dude, so freaking cool. Just another reason to be a rebellious little person inside of this great, ginormous, gigantic system that we would call the institutions of society. Well, I'll be rebelling then, because you know what? I've got things to do. That's what it is. Anyways, gratitude, reverence, and love to you. Hopefully, if you're working on self-worth work, you're able to rebel a little bit too. You are worth more. Literally, anytime you think about it, if you have the idea, that, in my opinion, is spirit giving you permission to go and be worth that thing. So yeah, you got it. You can do it. I believe it. I believe in you. It's going to be great. It's going to be good. Yeah. Keep up the brew that you do. I will too. Keep up the work that you need to do also. I also will too. And I'll talk to you soon. Also true.